Recording started.
Oh, shoot. Recorded live.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you are listening to the VMware Community Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast number 520. My name is Eric Nilsson, and with me today I have my co-host, Matt Lungeth. Today's Wednesday, didn't I say that? July 29th, 2020. Matt, how's it going?
Eric, I am well. I know today is a packed show with two fantastic guests, so we'll get right to it. How are you, sir? How's the weather, and what's the color of the bay?
I'm doing great. I'm getting used to working at home now. It's just like an old hat for me. And it's beautiful, sunny, and it's been cool in the Bay Area for the last few weeks. So it's been like 75, 78, which is fantastic. Color of the bay. Didn't get out to the bay this week, but I know that it's just going to be kind of mild greenish blue today. So that's what we're going to go with. And you're right. We are going to be talking to Mike Hulme, Senior Director, VMware Cloud Product Marketing. Mike's one of our regulars. He's going to come and talk to us about all the cool things that are happening in the cloud world. I know we had an announcement today and a live podcast, or not a podcast, but an event. So we'll get to Mike. And then after Mike's only going to be for half an hour. Then we're going to quickly jump over to Mark Chung. Mark Chung, Senior Director of DPAAS. CPBU. We're going to be talking to him about the Datrium acquisition. So let's just get right to it because we've got a lot to cover today. So Mike Hulme, welcome to the show. It's always good to have you. 1 minute elevator pitch. Who are you? How long have you been at VMware?
You got it. Thanks, Eric. Always a pleasure to be here. Mike Hulme, I've been part of VMware for almost 12 years now, dating back to the days when we were just vSphere, for those of you that remember, and spent a little time at Google, launching the Google Cloud business, and came back a couple of years ago here to launch our cloud business and have been part of the build out on VMware Cloud and AWS, all the great things we're doing with Azure and Google and everything else. So excited to be here, coming to you from my house, which is feeling like the norm, overlooking the beautiful Santa Cruz Mountains. For those of you in the Bay Area and know that area, it's not a bad place to be, but I'm happy to be chatting with all of you today. Thanks.
Well, let me tell you, with all of us staying at home, it's a good intro to, being ready for this new way of doing business. And I know that there has been this topic of cloud ready or future ready, and there's just a lot of going. And I heard a study the other day that this is accelerating IT's movement into the cloud. The fact that, we've got COVID-19 and the way the new businesses are forming. So why don't you take us through kind of what you've been working on and where VMware is in this journey?
Yeah, that's right. So, past couple of months, been working on a program that we call Future Ready. It's something where, we've been working with, hundreds of our customers to try and help them deal with the new reality that we're in around COVID-19. And, in the beginning, it maybe had a little bit more urgency around just keeping systems running and keeping business going. A lot of that at that point, March, April, May, was spent making sure that our customers had a systems and processes in place to support a remote workforce. Sometimes that even meant, shipping out, hundreds and thousands of Dell laptops around the world, making sure that people could just keep regular business operations up and running, but also giving them, VDI implementations and the kind of scale capabilities they needed to keep their remote workforce running. But that's quickly changed, and the conversation now is a little bit about making some pretty big architectural changes to how their cloud is deployed, how their remote workforce is supported longer term, how their applications are coming to market to build these new digital models that are unfortunately going to be a part of our reality for the foreseeable future. I think you touched on it though, which is that it's been a great catalyst for a lot of motivation for our customers. How long have we been sitting here talking about distance learning as a concept? I have a daughter that's in high school. You might be able to see her behind me here. She's taken some summer school programs. Distance learning was an optional idea for a long time, seemed like a great idea, and now it's a necessity. Same thing with telemedicine. A lot of retailers were sort of begrudgingly looking at e-commerce, and now that's really the way that we interact with our retailers and our customers. And go down the list: financial services, government, et cetera. So it's driven a lot of conversations at a business level, and it's put a lot of burden on our IT partners to deliver something really rapidly. And we've really spent a lot of time working through those details with them.
Yeah, I can imagine. I managed to get back up to the VMware office in Palo Alto the other day, just because I had to pick up some Raspberry Pi gear for stuff we're getting ready for VMworld, the online version. We're going to send out Raspberry Pis to people that buy the $300 kit, the $300 pass,
Yeah.
and come to the sessions. We're going to actually just ship people that sign up to those. We have like 40 slots per session. We're just going to send them a Raspberry Pi 4 because we have budget, right? So we have to shift our budget from buying booths to creating cool online experiences. But what I would say is when I went up to the Palo Alto campus to get gear, you get the strange feeling that I'm not sure I'm ever going to come back to this, right? Like I have gotten so used to being in my upstairs office and doing work this way that the idea of traveling, even though I live in Palo Alto, traveling up to an office, parking, climbing steps, and you realize that, wow, when we are able to go back, there's going to be a lot of people and a lot of businesses that go, actually, how we're selling and how we're behaving is actually probably the way we want to move forward with our business, right?
Yeah, it's funny because it's really a collective experience for everyone. So, globally, we've all had this same, um, uh, some maybe varying degrees, but we've had a similar experience. And when you have something that is that large and that widespread, it gives you a chance to really rethink things. It's not something that happened for 2 weeks to, just one region that maybe was struck by a hurricane or another natural disaster. This is something where, we've had this kind of bandage ripped away from us that says, you know, okay, well, we're in a situation now where the government can, make decisions around business and business operations. We have this large work from home practice that was never really as widespread as it was. Let's really rethink, that this could be something that could happen again 6 months down the road, or 2 years down the road, or 5 years, whatever it is. It may be something very different. Let's open people's eyes to this reality. And a lot of our customers, are in this simultaneously trying to think about how do I, build, IT systems and a business model that helps me build back, revenue and growth, but also give me a way of building so that in the future, should this happen again, I won't be caught off guard. I won't be in a mode of responding or crisis mode. Can I have a system that's more adaptive in my cloud architecture? Can I have a model that is a hybrid of digital and physical interfaces with customers?
Right, right.
So speaking from my own experience,
I think everybody's
no, go ahead.
yeah, I think everybody's getting this. So I know we only have you for a half an hour. So I know that we had a live event this morning. How does that play into what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the things that we're doing around Future Ready is really just a way of us bringing our cloud strategy and some resources and really talking about the things that's touching everyone. But today we had a great event. It was our multi-cloud briefing. You'll get to see Vittorio Viaringo, who's our just rejoined VMware. He was here many years ago. He's back as part of our cloud marketing team. Mark Lohmeyer, who's our SVP and general manager for our cloud services team. And they really walked through some of the latest milestones around what's going on in cloud. And, I think it's just really exciting. We've been talking about cloud for many years. We've been laying out this strategy of, how we bring, VMware Cloud Foundation out to all of the hyperscalers, all the cloud providers. And, one of the big milestones that people may not be aware of is that we're really live with all of these service providers. So we obviously have our great VMware Cloud on AWS service. Our Azure VMware solution is live. Earlier this year, Azure announced a 2.0 version of that, which is going to be wholly owned and operated by Microsoft, with some great hybrid pricing and licensing advantages for people that want to move Microsoft workloads to the cloud. But also Oracle Cloud, IBM Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, Google Cloud, go down the list. And one of the big milestones is just customers now that love the VMware environment have this great option of working with any major cloud provider, and also having the same access to cloud services from all of those cloud providers that you would have if you worked in a native environment from those providers. So great, proven infrastructure from VMware, great relationship with any cloud provider, access to services and innovation, a huge milestone for us. And you can see more details about that in that multi-cloud briefing.
Yeah.
So Mike, now that these are all deployed, so now that we have all of these great VCF offerings in all of the major cloud providers and some wonderful partners as well, how are we progressing with workload mobility? So let's say we have an instance or a tenant in AWS, and for pricing or redundancy or for whatever reason, that workload might want to be shifted over to Azure or GCP. What inroads have we made to progress and to facilitate those moves?
Well, that's a great preview of some of the things that we're going to show at VMworld this year. So I love that you asked the question. This is really the nirvana for us. The having great relationships, deploying great great services into these cloud providers. It's sort of a means to an end. What we really want to do is provide the ability to manage all of these as a consistent set of infrastructure, and then give people to have the flexibility to change really without penalty. And so, coming up at VMworld, we'll show some really complex scenarios that will allow customers to move workloads, between cloud providers, and also to leverage cloud services from multiple cloud providers. This idea of hybrid applications is really a key part of our customers' future. Being able to consume services from multiple sources, being able to really matrix together applications, and really get the best of all of the services and innovation that they need from any source. And that's some of the great stuff we're going to have as part of our VMworld agenda. So I can't wait to show people demos, not just tell them it's possible, but actually show them how it's possible coming up here in a couple of months.
Definitely sounds like some great content and some great sessions coming out from that. I'm sure that cloud health is going to play a role into some of those decisions and strategies as well.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about cloud health. I think in some ways, to me, if you're a customer and you have cloud services from any of the major providers or multiple cloud providers, cloud health to me is just a real natural thing to include in your portfolio. Getting back to
this episode is being recorded and streamed live on TalkShoe.com.
So I just want to
you are joining the online studio.
Going to do that.
You are unmuted and can speak with the host. Recording started.
We'll have to do the editing. All right, sorry about that. We will clean that up for the TalkShoe guys.
Yeah, no worries. So, Matt, you just asked me about cloud health, and one of the things I would really, going back to Future Ready and what we're talking about with our customers around COVID response, everyone right now is facing this period where they don't really know what their, economic future looks like, whether it's, their own market, their own company, maybe their budgets are just being reduced as a safety precaution. But at the same time, they're also being tasked with building out services and innovation that's going to drive revenue or drive the business. One of the things about cloud health that we love is that on average, cloud health customers are able to remove 25% of their cloud services costs just by reconfiguring services and having better understanding of resource alignment. So what I would recommend for anyone is get out and start to look at cloud health as a real natural way to help meet your budget goals, and then also manage your cloud expenses and your cloud investments really as a business investment going forward. For me, it's kind of a no-brainer right now, especially with so many people facing budget challenges. And so, coming out at VMworld, we'll talk more about multi-cloud operations where cloud health really fits under, but I really encourage everyone to check out that solution right away.
Sure, I'm sure that some operators are out there that in some instances, the ingress and egress fees and expansions and whatnot were at the last thought of a person's mind. They just need to get infrastructure set up. And now we need a way to monitor that and to figure out where the cost savings are. And given what you had mentioned, that seems like cloud health could be in a position to pay for itself.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you kind of said it right. Cloud gives us this great ability to move rapidly, do everything in self-service. We know how easy it is. A lot of people now are facing this issue of, can we do it? Can we do it right? Can we make thoughtful decisions? And frankly, if you're, facing a 20, 30, 40% budget cut around your IT budget, this is a great place to start. Hopefully it pays for itself and allows you to invest in the right things.
Yeah, the thing that I would assume, if you read about accelerating to the cloud, that if you were considering doing new projects, but you don't have a lot of budget because you're under budget constraint, moving into the cloud and putting vSphere there, then you don't have to buy equipment, you don't have to buy network gear, you just can next week get some compute resource to kind of build your project and then grow it out as the economy recovers. And so I could see where that shift to low investment to get your project up and running is probably good for people that are budget constrained.
It's really true. So, you can go and use something like VMware Cloud on AWS, go and use Azure VMware Solutions. You have that familiar environment of working within vSphere, working within VMware Cloud Foundation in the cloud, very low barrier to entry, no new skills needed, no new training, no new teams. You can scale up and down as needed. But, the other thing, Eric, is the cost of cloud migration. Now, when we go out and talk to our customers, we find customers that are spending $1 million to migrate 1,000 VMs to the cloud,
right.
literally rewriting apps that are already working fine. Now you're going to move into the cloud. Imagine doing that in this climate where your budgets are pretty uncertain. To me, that's just a completely wasted investment. And that just encourage people to look at an alternative option where you don't have to rewrite your apps, but you can get to the cloud almost instantly.
Speaking of cloud land, we're not speaking about this, but cloud land grabs. You come from the days of virtual, physical to virtual. We always talked about grabbing market share. Are any of the cloud hyperscalers trying to do land grabs in that, give you rent abatement, get you cloud abatement services to get you on for the next year while you move workloads into this environment? And then, we'll ramp up what those charges are. Have you seen any of that? I mean, because I've got to imagine that the hyperscalers have to be competing at some point.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting, you see these different strategies over the years. I remember, it must be 10 years ago now, but we saw, AWS, executives saying things like, no one will ever build another data center ever. There will be a day when there will be no workloads ever in a data center ever again. And the world now is just a lot more balanced and a lot more informed about what this future state will look like. And I think what we're seeing now is a realization that we're probably going to have about half of our workloads in the cloud and about half of them in the data center for a lot of reasons: performance, scale, security, compliance, data locality, a lot of different things. And so, the VMware strategy of approaching that is actually playing out to be pretty darn accurate. And, credit Pat and Raghuram and our executives for saying, we really know where this world is going. So what we see is cloud providers really coming towards that world. And, VMware has been the partner of choice to help to make this world exist and take a look at which workloads are best suited in each environment, give them the best of what they need where they are. Every now and then, I think, you see a strategy where cloud providers are trying to really dictate data center architecture. And, but I think our customers have really spoken that this is something where they know what works, they trust VMware, they know that this architecture that we built for them continues to advance and evolve and become more modern. And actually, I got to tell you, that's some of the real exciting things that are coming up at VMworld this year too. We have some great new things, not just to get you into the cloud or do great things in the cloud, but to make the data center as attractive and as powerful as possible. Maybe we thought the innovation had already been tapped out there, but we have some great surprises coming up for people too.
Yeah, Mike, do you have any sessions yourself, or is there any sessions that you know of that you would suggest to our listeners?
Yeah, so I definitely recommend Raghuram, our COO, head of our cloud products, will be doing a cloud solution keynote. That's going to be on the first day of VMworld, and it's a good 25-minute session to get you everything that you need to know around cloud. There's some great things in there, milestones for our cloud providers, for vSphere, Cloud Foundation, and apps. And I think it's going to be a good overview. Coming up right after that is really 3 deeper dives into key themes: cloud management deep dive with Ajay Singh, a cloud services deep dive with Mark Lohmeyer, who's our general manager for cloud services, and then a deeper dive into cloud platform with John Gilmartin. So really 3 very strategic level sessions. And that's going to lead into some really cool things around data center architectures, how we're supporting AI and ML workloads. And so I think you just kind of think about those on that first day. you'll get a lot in those first couple of hours. And to me, those are just really exciting, showing what we're doing in the data center, showing how we're extending that into the cloud, making this all, one big pool to support a broad range of applications as well.
Nice. I want to do a shout out before we have to let you go. I know you have a hard stop at 12:30 and we're 4 minutes to 12:30. One, if you want to go look at the cloud briefing, it's vmware.com/multi-cloud-briefing.html. So go check that out if you want to listen to Victorio talk about what Mike's talking about. And then you do have sessions, and I know that content calendar is up for VMworld right now. So
that's right.
Schedule builder's not there, but you can go search on Ragu, search on cloud. You'll be able to find things. Let's see, last thing, we talked about hyperscaler. Any other things that we want to communicate before we let you go, Mike?
Yeah, so the big thing is, I think we covered the real hot topics. I'd love to do a shout out for something that we've been running at VMworld for a couple of years now called Cloud City. Cloud City is our destination for all of our cloud portfolio, including about 50 really nice solution demos that'll walk you through how to use the tools that for things like cloud migration, security, disaster recovery, which we'll hear a little bit more with Mark Chuan coming up here after me, and all the specific initiatives that you might already be trying to do, really how you do it within a VMware environment. We'll also give you the ability to talk to cloud experts across VMware. We're bringing it into a digital format. It's a great new model for us. We're excited about it, and I'd love to see all of you exploring that. You'll be able to get to it off of the VMworld home portal once you get in, and even just as a registered user for free, you'll have access to all 50 plus solution tutorials, everything else that you need to be successful. But we're seeing some great progress across the board with our cloud portfolio. I love seeing this vision come to reality. And coming up at VMworld, we'll talk about what's next. There's some great new surprises in how we take what you've been seeing from us and just move it to the next generation. So hope to see you all there.
All right.
Can't wait to see what happens with HCIX. I think HCIX is one of our underrated product offerings, and really can't wait to see what the next iteration of lies ahead.
I think that what you're going to see, you're totally right, Matt, that with all these great cloud providers now leveraging VMware Cloud Foundation as this common architecture, HCIX, we're really going to, pull the curtain back on this one and let everyone see the power here. Migration, live workloads, rapid speed, very little refactoring or rebuilding that application. I think that people are really going to start to see a whole new generation of innovation across the multi-cloud environment, and HCIX is going to be a cornerstone technology. So I couldn't agree more.
All right, well, thank you very much. Mike Hulme, Senior Director of VMware Cloud Products Business Unit. It's always nice to have you here. We'll see you again, I'm sure, shortly. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mike.
Everyone. Appreciate the time. Take care.
And with that, we will transition to our back half. Mark Schwang, I guess that's how you say your last name, Mark. Welcome to the show. As always, we say welcome. Why don't you tell us who you are, how long have you worked at VMware, and what does your career arc look like in the elevator pitch of Mark Schwang?
Well, Eric and Matt, thanks so much for giving me some time here. Yeah, a little bit about myself. Been at VMware for almost 14 years now, and have worn many different product leadership hats. Started way back in 2007 when VMware was just forming its competitive team. And even back then, I was impressed with VMware not resting on its laurels, right? Always making an investment to make sure that it was maintaining and extending that leadership position. So in my time at VMware, have led vSphere product management, product marketing. Most recently was leading the VMware Cloud Foundation product management team. So that was a super fun ride to be able to take one of VMware's, strategic products in its early days, and now, 3.5 years later, grow it into one of our most significant product lines. And the reason I'm on this call is I've taken a new role leading product marketing for the disaster recovery as a service business. So very excited to do it again, grow another strong strategic business for VMware.
So
Pretty
Mona,
good.
to that end, we already had a products per se with SRM, correct? I mean, so how does Datrium figure into this, and where do you see Datrium playing in? Is it going to be a complementary product, or something
Very
that
much
might
so.
fit in for another entity that might have had some reservations with SRM?
Yeah, great question, Matt. With the Datrium acquisition, which closed officially about 2 weeks ago, it really brings a powerful new addition to the VMware disaster recovery portfolio. So as you mentioned, we've had VMware Site Recovery Manager, SRM, for quite a while now. And so for customers who are not yet ready to go to a disaster recovery as a service offering, right? You've got SRM, robust enterprise software, customer managed. That doesn't go away at all, right? Many VMware customers are using it, and we'll continue to have that as a core tenant in our DR portfolio. But where the Datrium acquisition comes in is that it's going to offer a simplified, on-demand disaster recovery solution delivered as a SaaS service with cloud economics. So, one of the things I've loved in all the years working at VMware is we really do understand that principle of there's not a one size fits all when it comes to just a very diverse set of the VMware customer base. And so this gives a very powerful new choice for customers when it comes to DR.
So you talked about cloud economics there. Now, will this potentially be available to our service provider partners that would be able to offer this as a service to their clients?
Initially, right, when you see us kind of relaunch the product, it'll support VMware Cloud on AWS. But without giving up too much, yes, let's just say that we definitely have a strong interest in figuring out how we can make it more broadly available.
That's one thing that I've always found, and I'll back up a little bit because I wanted Mark to just say, first off, you've been here about as long as I have. I think I started in 2000 as well. And I remember when you came under, I think you took over from Eric Horshman to run the competitive group. I remember that. So that was good. And what I would say for people listening to this podcast, Mark and Raghu and the crew that you guys work with, you guys are the brains in keeping VMware current, right? Like I've seen VMware go through multiple transitions from, first it was just virtual and it was all about performance and P2V. And then we had competitive around Microsoft and, trying to keep up with Hyper-V. Then we acquired Nicira somewhere along the way, then storage along the way. Then vCloud Air or AirWatch, sorry, no, Air, not vCloud Air, strike that. AirWatch and the acquisitions there. And the one thing that I would say you guys have done, your crew, I call it the crew. And one day if Raghu actually leaves VMware, I'm going to cry, right? Because I think that there's just this incredible intelligence around understanding where the data center is going, what data operators need, what the business needs. And you guys are always out front. And the difference between like a Sun Microsystems and a VMware was you guys always looking, you're not the we didn't invent it, we didn't do it. You're always looking at like, where's it going and what can we do? What can VMware do? What can we build? What we can buy from other people that build, that they can plug in. So thank you for all that hard work and just smart choices you guys have, I call you guys, I know it's just not you, have made over time. And now we get into this acquisition model, which I'll get to the point of this, is that we seem to be at VMware able to acquire these companies and then do useful things with them, right? Like where other companies that acquire, you see them buy things and then it peters out and you never, it's almost like a wasted, they went out of business and then we picked up the scraps. Where it seems like we have this ability to really select key technologies, bring them in and nurture them. How do you think that's going to play out with Datrium?
Yeah, I mean, look, whenever you do a inorganic acquisition like this, everyone will tell you it's never 100% guaranteed success. But I think to your earlier point, the reason why it's worked so well for VMware is we do try our best to really try to make sure we're lining up, like, what do we see out there in the market, as well as just super compelling technology from whatever, startup it is that we're evaluating. And so specifically for Datrium, let me just start with like, what is going on out there, right? And I would sum it up this way. I think organizations need business resiliency now more than ever. And disaster recovery is a part of that, right? Now, when you hear the term disaster recovery, I think naturally we oftentimes think about natural disasters, right? So many of us, Matt, I don't know where you're based. I know Eric and I are here in California. So for us, that means being woken up at night to an earthquake, right? We're all as Californians are waiting for the next big one. Right? Other parts of the world, you got hurricanes, you have flooding, tornadoes, list all of them off. And obviously those still occur. But what's even more common that leads to these disaster events are human errors. It could be a human error within your organization, right? Someone uploads or flips some switch they weren't supposed to. Or they could be human errors in an organization completely beyond your control, outside of your company, right? That can lead to network or infrastructure outages. And then finally, we all read the news. We all know that ransomware attacks are increasing. So unlike natural disasters or human error, which are like accidental, ransomware attacks mean someone is out there consciously trying to mess you up. Right. And so with all of these things, right, at the end of the day, they can all take down your operations pretty quickly. So in the face of this, though, IT decision makers do not have the confidence, by and far, that they can recover from a disaster event when it occurs, right? And that applies to folks who have disaster recovery plans. And then in some cases, there are folks who don't have DR plans at all because it's just too complex and too expensive. So that's where the Datrium acquisition just felt like such a natural fit, right? It should come as no surprise that disaster recovery as a service adoption is actually on the rise. DR is one of the most compelling use cases and reasons why people are going to hybrid cloud. And so what Datrium was doing over the last 12 to 18 months, super exciting for us because they've been investing in a disaster recovery as a service offering that can protect any vSphere on-premises environment. And with the initial release, they'll protect it up to VMware Cloud on AWS.
It's interesting. It's kind of like this spectrum where you have disaster recovery on one side and you have high availability on the other side, right? And like somewhere in the middle is it's both, right? Where somebody kicks a plug out and that's how our communities crashed like 6 years ago, whatever. Somebody just ripped a storage unit plug out by accident and everything crashed. And it took us a day and a half to get everything back to where it should have been, right? And so there's this continuum, and somewhere in the middle, and then add cloud services. And yeah, you're right. When I talk to people, that's the number one reason they're thinking about implementing cloud is just to be able to have that. And I think we all do this. I tell my wife, hey, go upload those videos and photos to Facebook, just because I don't trust my own backup skills and my own house network, right? So you do want to have that cloud as that third place or second place. You got your machines, your hard drives, you got your backup tapes or whatever your backup storage is, and then you have the cloud that can act as this, okay, if everything goes bad here, this is where I can go, right? And there's that the continuum, right?
I couldn't agree more, right? It is that continuum for the total end-to-end protection. And we believe that with the Datrium-based disaster recovery as a service offering, it's going to just give our customers just yet one more very, very powerful weapon that they can use that's at their disposal.
So where does Datrium actually? They're a corp. Where are they from?
Their headquarter office was in Sunnyvale, which is here, in the heart of Silicon Valley. And several of their founders were ex-VMware principal engineers. So there absolutely is that familiarity. And then quite a few of the other founders actually came from data domain.
Well, this is a kind of common because I believe the NSX, which was, what was the name of the company from NSX? I can't remember it, that we acquired also had Diane Green funded ex-VMware. So it seems like these soft places in our portfolio, some smart engineers at VMware spin off, go create, get funding, build solutions, and then we're smart enough and we don't have such a big ego that we're not willing to go and look at these things and go, yeah, maybe we could bring this in-house and it would be a perfect fit for that. So
I think it goes back to even from the founding of VMware, where you mentioned Diane, Mendel, and others just had that foresight to say, what are going to be the big challenges and problems that enterprises and organizations are going to face. And I feel like in that way, they role modeled for a lot of these other VMware alum that you've mentioned that go out and also do their own startups. There's just that keen perceptiveness and awareness of trying to really think about the next set of problems that are going to come up.
Right.
You
Nice.
talked about service providers, and the initial offering here is on AWS, but as our previous guest, Mike Hulme, had mentioned, we have VCF now in so many different platforms: GCP, Azure, IBM, Oracle. Is there thoughts or perhaps initiatives on board to offer the service and other major cloud providers as well?
Well, I mean, Matt, it goes back to my earlier comment. Yes, there is high interest, nothing that I'll be able to share right now, but I'll just tell you, look, I fully understand the VMware strategy, our hybrid cloud, our multi-cloud strategy. I'm a firm believer in it. So yes, that we are looking at how we can take this important DR use case and add yet another component to the overall VMware multi-cloud strategy.
Sure.
Very nice. Very nice. So as in this space, we do this acquisition. We just announced it. How long does it take to actually bring a company like this on board? My guess would be that we'll probably make that happen over the next half a year. Coming into VM world, are we going to have some Datrium sessions? Are we going to market this product on its own? We typically do that. We market it on its own, and then we eventually integrate and assimilate. How's that going to play out?
So VMworld is a big deal for us. So there'll be dedicated sessions there for people to be able to come and learn more. In fact, you'll be able to find some of the sessions either just by searching on disaster recovery or Datrium as a keyword. Anticipate that we're going to continue to integrate them in. So that'll obviously be on the R&D and the technical side, but from marketing, naming, branding, sales motion, the whole kind of end to end there. The acquisition did just complete about 2 weeks ago. So we're busy integrating the new Datrium team into the VMware family. And I can say there's just a lot of excitement with everyone that's involved here. So we're working on hands-on labs and videos and material, and that just speaking on the marketing side. I haven't even.
Did they have customers? Did they have customers?
In regards to the DR as a service, right, that can support a broad spectrum of different storage types. They had just launched that product a few months ago. So there was, active customer interest, but at this point, we're not sharing any, specific customer numbers there. But it was a fairly recent service they had released.
And Mark, to that end, I know in the company's history, there was a time where they were selling hardware, and I'm sure support along with that hardware. If a customer was out there now that was considering making a hardware purchase, would they still be available to do so? And what happens to customers with a current support contract?
Yeah, that's a great question, Matt. As part of the integration, as I mentioned, it only closed 2 weeks ago. We're actively working out, and we will be sharing an announcement with the existing Datrium customers here soon.
Fair enough.
it's a cloud service now. Do we see? Yeah, I know you can't say very much, so, but would I expect this to just remain a cloud service, or would I expect it
Yeah.
to be on-prem as well as cloud service as we
So
go forward?
let me share a little bit more about the offering. Absolutely that part. I'm more than happy to talk about.
Okay.
Right. So I kind of succinctly summarized it earlier to say, at the end of the day, it offers that simplified on-demand cloud recovery that is a SaaS-based service with that cloud economics. So let me kind of unpack those terms a little bit. So SaaS service, to your question, Eric, it will remain a SaaS service, right? So you are protecting your on-premises vSphere workloads. Your management control console, if you will, is a SaaS service.
Okay.
It's backing up your on-premises workloads into cost-efficient cloud storage. And when you need to do a failover event, right, it will do the failover onto VMC clusters that, of course, reside on VMware Cloud on AWS. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a sense of like the main components and what that end-to-end service looks like.
The VMC cluster is a key piece of understanding how that's going to behave then. Yep.
Yeah.
So Mark, to dive deep on that just for a second, would the customer have an option when we're migrating that data, depending on what the RTO or RPO would be, as far as where the data is initially stored within AWS and then spun up in a VCF instance? Or would it all be, let's call it, at primary availability for right now, based on what demand would be? So in other words, if we're transporting data to AWS, right, if it's not a tier 1 critical workload, it could sit in, I don't know, who knows, Glacier, right? And then it could be pulled up and then sucked into that VCF on AWS instance.
Yeah,
there would be other workloads that would change, I'm sure.
Yeah, so Matt, the way we're thinking about this is, the ease of use and really offering it as a cloud service are core tenets of what makes this solution attractive. And that's the way we'll continue to think about it. So we are using, I use the term, a cost-effective cloud storage, but we want to make that pretty transparent to the customer. At the end of the day, right, they'll be able to say, this is what I'm protecting. This is the price that you'll be paying, and that price will be all inclusive of the VMware software, any of the storage costs, the VMC clusters, the capacity, the whole entire thing, right? And then the whole point of moving to a SaaS cloud service is so that customers don't have to get into that level of detail.
Right. The simplicity, it's all there ready to run. And I'm sure
Exactly.
that the cloud control plane would have some run books or available for testing.
Absolutely.
If
Run
they'd want to
books are
spin up
critical.
test instances.
For sure. Run books are critical. Frequent tests are critical, because if you're not running your tests often enough, how can you have confidence that when some disaster strikes, right, your DR plan is going to work well? And so the solution also has automated compliance checks that actually run every 30 minutes. And as part of that, there's built-in audit reports as well. So when a customer's audit team comes knocking on their door, right, here's the reports and the documentation that's needed for that team. So that all falls under that umbrella of an easy, simplified, end-to-end cloud service for DR protection.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about cloud so much, if I can, kind of add one more key point in here, part of what makes it cost efficient and why I use and called it cloud economics is you don't have to pay for the full capacity for that DR until it's needed, right? And so therefore your backups are going to a very cost efficient layer of cloud storage, but then the actual spin up of the DR side with the compute, with the networking, with the storage, et cetera, that doesn't actually have to occur until that failover event takes place.
So I'm assuming the data ingress fees are then going to be packaged in with this monthly cost.
Yep.
As far, wow, awesome.
We would include all that in. Obviously, we're going to make some modeling and some assumptions on our side, but we want to make this easy for customers,
Yeah, easy
right?
to
So they
consume
don't
for the
have to.
customer. Sure.
That's right. You don't want to present them with 20 line items in their bill exposing all of the operational details that's involved in running this service. I mean, for the customer, we want to make it a very easy experience, but on the back end, it's VMware applying its expertise to manage all the complexity, right?
Yeah. I have heard some rumors, and I don't know if it's because I've been in VMworld meetings, but speaking of consuming cloud services, I can imagine we're going to have a packaged bundle that offers a lot of these type of services that VMware is starting to offer in cloud, where it's vRealize suite, or whether it's VMC, or whether it's this, into kind of a consumption-based enterprise all-you-can-eat package where you can buy something and it all comes with everything that you'd ever want to be able to run this complete hybrid environment where you're keeping things up running, managing, migrating. It's got HA, it's got DR, disaster recovery, across the scale. I can imagine that this whole pricing will be set up at some point from VMware where you'll just be able to buy an enterprise license for cloud services and it'll all just come here.
Yeah, I'm not personally tied into those conversations, but that sounds pretty cool, Eric.
Yeah, I can't remember if we've announced that or whether I was in a meeting where they were talking about announcing that, and I'm not going to use any terms for it. But I would say that that's where you get to, where it just comes easy to consume cloud, and then it's across multiple clouds, and you can choose which cloud provider, hyperscaler you want to use, and it's actually really powerful. And then you can still operate your on-prem data center much the way you have, but then to have expandability across all the clouds, and reliability of being across multiple places, right? So very, very cool. All right, and I guess we're coming up to the hour, so thanks a lot, Mark, for joining us. We wanted to hear about it. We heard about the acquisition, thought it was pretty cool tech. So I know we asked you last minute to jump on, so I appreciate you doing the half hour with us just to give an update on what we acquired.
Well, thank you so much, and I would just say for all of your listeners out there, definitely join us at VMworld. We'll have some fun, informative sessions to help you get ramped up. And in the meantime, if there's anyone who does want to talk more about this, or wants to dig in even before we kind of do the next phase of rollout of all this educational and evaluation material, would highly encourage you to reach out to your VMware rep, and they'll know how to get in touch with all of us working on disaster recovery as a service. And we'd love to have that conversation with you. Fantastic.
As always, the experts and everybody else promote, let people know what it is, and write some blog articles on it as well. So I'm sure there's plenty of information out there. Mark, are you on Twitter? What is your Twitter handle?
Oh, I'm not. I need to actually get that revived, but
it's
not right now.
If you guys keep making the good choices you do, keep doing your job, it helps all of us, because our entire careers now are vested in you guys making good choices on product acquisition. So I appreciate all the great work. You guys have done a A+ job, putting us in a position where all our careers still matter. So we appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for the time, Eric and Matt. Take care.
Right, and with that,
Thanks,
we'll do a quick barbecue report at the end of the hour here. I know Tony Foster is on the call. I think I asked him, he said he didn't have much when it comes to barbecue. I am doing barbecue on Saturday. We're doing the classic barbecue chicken, where we just use thighs. We just buy packets of thighs and we smoke them for about 40 minutes on low heat, cook them, and then once you've smoked them, then bring them up, and then we use just classic wet barbecue sauce, and we'll coat them and flip them for the next 10 minutes so that you don't burn, because you just get a caramelized barbecue sauce on the chicken. So that's what we're gonna do this weekend, because it is there. Corn season is also here, so if you get some good corn, the corn is still pretty good, you can put that on the barbecue as well, in the husk. Don't shell it, just put it in the husk. leave it on, turn it every time the husk gets a little blackened, just rotate it. Your corn will be done in maybe 20 minutes if you just have some good coals going. So that's what we'll do. My daughter just she never listens to this podcast, so I don't have to worry. She has her birthday December 28th, and she's been so frustrated having her birthday on December 28th, Matt, that she decided never to have her birthday on December 28th any longer. So she's starting to have her birthday August 4th. So she just flipped it 6 months. So we're going to have a non-birthday birthday party August 4th, and we're going to make some barbecue chicken.
Why not?
Why
These
not?
are exciting things, and I'd love to change my birthday, maybe hold back a few years.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think we should all just skip 2020. From now on, the 2020 birthdays don't count. You get to
Turn
take
birthdays into
off.
a binary switch. We could just turn them on and off.
This one is going to be off. So next year, you get to be the same age as you were this year. You've heard it here on the VMware Community Roundtable podcast. First, spread the news. This year's birthdays don't count. Delay your birthday for a whole year.
Let's do erasure encoding for all of 2020 and make all the bad things go away and just keep the good parts.
It would be good. That would be good. All right, we're at the top of the hour. Thanks a lot for everybody listening. We do have the HOL team booked next week to talk about the new HOL sessions. They have part of their HOL scheduled workshops with instructors going to be at VMworld. They're going to come tell us about how that's going to work. So I guess you come in on a Zoom and you get an instructor-led lab environment. So they're going to come next week and tell us about what that looks like. There's going to be a lot of product announcements coming up. I got a list of great product announcements that we're going to be able to bring in guests over the next 6 to 8 weeks leading up.
Sounds like some teasers. Tune in.
Exactly. We're coming into August, and August, it actually gets kind of exciting because all the product announcements that we've been working on, or the products we've been working on, we hold to VMworld. And even though we're just doing a virtual VMworld, the product announcements are going to be just as exciting. So we'll bring some of these guys on and talk about their new releases.
Back to hands-on labs, I can't wait to see what they're going to do with Odyssey this year. I know Odyssey was a very big hit last year, and to see how that might extend into this virtual format. I know that there was a lot of interest.
We are going to have Sandy as part of that crew. She comes and talks to us about Odyssey as well. So it will be interesting to see. I want to know how they're going to deliver prizes, right? Are you going to ship prizes, t-shirts? How are you going to get people physical goods if you're running a competition? Maybe you get
there's Datrium as a gift service that we're going to have for gift transportation. We'll be able to magically move the bits.
A service that keeps on giving, keeping your systems up, even if you pull the cords out. With that, we're done. Thanks a lot. Have a good, happy rest of your week, and we'll be back again next week with another VMware Community Roundtable podcast. See you guys later.
Great call today.